All right, so today we're going to talk about one of the most mysterious and honestly profound little books ever written. It's got just 81 short chapters, but for something like 2,500 years, it's been puzzling and inspiring people all over the world. We are talking about the Tao Te Ching. And right from the very first line, it throws this incredible puzzle at us. It basically says that the second you try to name or explain the thing we're about to discuss, you've already missed it. So how in the world are we supposed to understand a concept that says it's beyond words? And yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? In this explainer, we're going to take a journey through the core ideas of this incredible text. We're going to try to get as close as we can to an answer, not by finding some simple definition, but by really understanding how it all works. Okay, so to get our bearings, let's start at the source. The story behind this text is just as mysterious as its teachings, and it all begins with this legendary figure known only as the Old Master. You know, the name itself actually gives us a pretty good clue. Tao means the way. Te means virtue or even strength, and Ching means scripture or classic. So you could call this the classic book on the way and its power. It's an absolute pillar of Chinese thought, written in this ancient poetic style that kind of hints at things more than it just states them. So the legend goes that the author was this guy named Lao Tzu, literally the old master. He lived a long life, saw how society was, and decided he'd had enough and wanted to retreat from civilization. But as he was leaving, a border guard at a mountain pass recognized his incredible wisdom and begged him, "Please, don't disappear without leaving your teachings for the world." So Lao Tzu agreed, wrote down this very text, handed it over, and then vanished into the West, never to be seen again. Now, to really get a handle on the way, we first have to understand the universe it's flowing through. The Tao Te Ching doesn't see the cosmos as just a bunch of static objects. No, it sees it as this dynamic, pulsating rhythm, a dance between two fundamental forces. And this brings us to a concept you've probably seen everywhere: Yin and Yang. Now, a lot of people think this is about good versus evil, but it's not that at all. They are complementary opposites, like light and shadow, that together create a balanced whole. You simply cannot have one without the other, and inside each one is always the little seed of its opposite. And you can see this cosmic dance broken down into things we experience every single day. You've got yin, which is that quiet, receptive, cool force. Think of night or water or a valley. And then you have yang, the active, creative, bright force, like the day or fire or a mountain. The entire universe is just a constant flowing dance between these two. And what's so fascinating is that this isn't just some big cosmic idea. It's about how we perceive the world. The text tells us that we only recognize something as beautiful because its opposite, ugliness, exists. The only reason we understand long is because short is a thing. Our whole reality is defined by this constant interplay of opposites. So if everything is about this balance, that brings us to one of the most mind-bending and powerful ideas in the entire book. It's a philosophy of action that, looks a whole lot like inaction. I know, it sounds like a total contradiction, right? I mean, we live in a world that is obsessed with hustle, with grinding, with constant effort. And here comes the Tao Te Ching proposing a radically different way to get things done. This is probably my favorite metaphor from the whole book. Just think about it for a second. A wheel has all these solid spokes, right? But the only reason it actually works, the thing that makes it useful, is the empty space in the middle, the hole for the axle. Same for a clay pot. It's the emptiness inside that actually holds the water. The usefulness comes from what is not there. So the lesson here is that real power, true effectiveness, doesn't always come from adding more stuff or pushing harder. Sometimes it comes from creating space, from stillness, from just allowing things to happen in their own time. That empty space is where all the potential lies. And this amazing principle is called Wu Wei. Now, this does not mean being lazy or just doing nothing. It means acting with such perfect timing, in such perfect harmony with the natural flow of things, that your actions feel completely effortless. It's like a surfer riding a huge wave instead of trying to punch it. So how do you actually practice this? Well, it's kind of like a three-step dance. First, you just observe. You watch the situation and understand its natural momentum. Then you act, but you act with that flow, not against it. And the result? You get where you need to go, but without that feeling of grinding and struggling. The text gives us these two perfect images to show the difference. Striving That's like sharpening a knife over and over until the blade gets so thin and brittle that it's useless. But Wu Wei? That's like water. It's soft, it's yielding, but over time it can carve through the hardest stone. It nourishes everything it touches, and it never has to fight. Okay, so if the big goal is to live in harmony with the Tao, practicing this Wu Wei, what does that actually look like in a person? Well, the Tao Te Ching gives us a model to follow, the sage, or the wise person. The sage is just full of these beautiful paradoxes. They lead people by staying behind them. They win arguments by yielding. They do incredible work but don't need any credit because the work itself is the point. They avoid extremes, and this one's huge. They know when enough is enough. They know when to stop.
This quote is really the heart of the sage's whole philosophy. Think about it. A young plant, a sapling, is tender and flexible, right? It bends with the wind. When it gets old and rigid and dry, that's when it's dying. In the exact same way, the sage finds incredible strength in being gentle, adaptable, and yielding. Rigidity breaks. Flexibility is what endures.
So let's circle all the way back to our original question. What is the Tao? And I think we can see now that it's not some thing you can point to or define. It's a process. It's a way to live. It's the natural, unfolding rhythm of the universe. And living a good life, a wise life, is about learning to dance with it, embracing these paradoxes, finding beauty in simplicity, and acting with the effortless power of water. And that leaves us with a final thought to take with us. You know, we're told constantly to push harder, go faster, be stronger. But this 2,500-year-old book asks us to maybe consider the opposite. What if the greatest strength we have isn't in forcing our will on the world, but in finding the wisdom to just let go and go with the flow?